Welcome back to the BJJ Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ford. My guest today is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's also an ADCC champion. He's also an ADCC silver medalist. He was a brown and purple belt world champion, and he's a professional MMA fighter and a current member of the UFC roster. He's currently tied with Uriah Faber for most submissions in the UFC's bantamweight division history. He's also a veteran of WEC, K1, and Heroes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be joined today by Rani Yahya. How are you today, Rani?
Very good, Ryan. Hope to have a great conversation today.
I'm very excited to have you here, Rani. You're someone I've enjoyed watching for a very long time. And in fact, it's funny, this interview happened because you were just training with one of my best friends, Diego Paiva, Tenso. Really cool to have you here, man. Rani,
thank you, bro.
Of course. The question I always like to start with, tell us about where you're from originally and what your life was like before you found Jiu-Jitsu.
I am from Brasilia, Brazil, the capital of Brazil, Brasilia. And I started Jiu-Jitsu, I was 11 years old. Before that, I was a sports kid, you know. I was a kid that always enjoyed to do sports. Soccer, of course, being in Brazil, every Brazilian guy at some point, every Brazilian kid actually thought about being a soccer player someday. Most of them from my generation. So I played judo, but I swim, but in jiu-jitsu where I found real passion when I started to do jiu-jitsu, you know.
That's awesome. About how old were you when you started judo? Were you really young, or were you like a teenager?
Yeah, no, I was like 8 years old, I think, you know. I tried many things. I tried judo, I tried taekwondo, I used to play soccer. I was ADD ADD kid. Like, you know, I was unable to focus too much on school, you know, but I used to do good in sports, you know. But none of those sports really caught my attention like Jiu-Jitsu did. So when I started to train Jiu-Jitsu, I fell in love quickly, you know. I was 11 years old when I started.
That's incredible. Well, that's something you and I have in common. I have crazy ADD. It's not as bad now as an adult as it was when I was younger, but when I was younger, man, it was pretty bad.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, I couldn't sit. Yeah, it was a real mess. My parents went gray a little early just because having the phone calls from school and stuff. So let me ask you, when you started jiu-jitsu and you found something that you were really passionate about, how did that help you balance your ADD as a young guy?
The way I was as a kid is that everything that I was trying, you know, I also tried to play guitar. I also tried music, other stuff. But everything that I tried, I thought that I was never good enough, you know. And after 2-3 months, you know, I didn't feel that I want to do that thing anymore, you know. Like with Jiu-Jitsu was different because of competition, you know. And because I didn't win my first competition. I got close to win the first competition I had. And I thought, man, I almost won. I almost got the gold medal. So if I train a little more, if I dedicate myself a little more, I can win. And then the next competition, I was able to become a champion. And that helped me because I found something that was challenge for me. After I won my first competition, and then I wanted to win the second competition, which is like all local tournaments, you know, small tournaments, especially like in the 90s when I started, you know, it was very small. I used to say that I wanted to do 5-6 matches in one day because every time I would win, but was only one match or mostly 2 matches, you know, and it was like 3 or 4 competitions a year. And it was like that, you know, it gave me focus because I always had a goal, you know, I always had a goal. Once I started to get to the competition circuit, I always had a goal to train more and try to win again.
That's incredible, man. Something you said there that really resonates with me is that you found what you were passionate about. You tried many different things, but your ADD kind of kept you moving on to the next thing. And it wasn't until something really grabbed you and locked you in, and that you became passionate about, that you were able to really start focusing on one thing in particular. And I think that's a very relatable thing for a lot of people. I think a lot of people struggle to find what it is in life they want to do and what they're passionate about. And when you finally find that thing and it grabs you, it's really something, man.
Yeah, man. About this ADD thing, there are people with different personalities, man. Like some people, they do good in sports, they do good in music. Some other people, they don't fit on that world, the sports world, but they do very good, like work 8 hours a day in an office, wearing a suit, and I really admire this kind of people, because that doesn't fit in my head, how people can do that. Or like I really admire, I'm being honest saying this, because I feel that people are different, but I have one good story about ADD thing. Is about a person, a kid or a teenager, I don't know who it is, who used to do his sport, which was basketball or running, I don't know, was a psychologist who told me that story. That this kid was like a kid or teenager, I think I was probably a teenager, like was a phenomenon on what he was doing. He was doing so good in what he was doing in sports. The moment he started his ADD thing, went to psychology, then went to psychiatrist, and he started to treat, he started to take the medicine that they gave him, his passion for sports went away, and he never did sports again. So there is a book who talks about things that are things like that, things like cause the reverse results, like is the Anti-Fragile from Nassim Taleb, an awesome book. So this is if someone wanna read Anti-Fragile, it's a great book. Talk about many different situations, like the people who are anti-fragile, they are able to turn something bad that happened in their life to something good. Another example is like the pandemic, for example. Like pandemic hurt a lot of business. Many business closed. But some business, like online business and like even the UFC, for example, they grew after the pandemic. Instead of to shut their doors, they grew. So throughout the history, this book gives many of examples. So one reverse example is that one about the ADD, and I really like that story, because the kid was very good on what he was doing. He was probably have a direction in life on what he was gonna do, but the moment he tries to feel better, to try to treat his thing, then he became a random person, and then the motivation he had to do the sport, whatever sport he was playing, he didn't have anymore.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story, man, because I remember as a young kid in the 90s, I remember that Ritalin and all these pharmaceutical drugs you're talking about to treat ADD, they were being thrown out like
Ritalin, yeah.
Yeah, they were being thrown out like candy. Like if your kid was like a little hyperactive, like, oh, just give him some Ritalin. And then the next day the kid's just, completely like a zombie, it just takes the life out of you kind of. And I it's too bad, when I was younger, that I didn't find jiu-jitsu sooner, because I think that kind of thing could have really helped me. I found that jiu-jitsu is one of the few things I've been able to do in my life where I'm really in the moment, no matter what's going on in my life. Like if I'm having, trouble at home, if I'm having stress with work or anything like that, it's the place where you can't really think about those things, because someone's trying to choke you and someone's trying to pass your guard and someone's trying to, they're coming after you. So you have to focus on what's happening right now. And it's a nice getaway from everything. And for people with ADD, I think that's a major tool that would really help a lot of people. And I would encourage encourage people to look for those kinds of things rather than pharmaceutical medications, you know. So I appreciate you sharing that experience with us, man. I know that eventually your journey led you to learning from Rickson Gracie. You spent some time with Rickson. How did that happen, and what was that like?
Man, I moved to California, to Los Angeles in 2005, the beginning of 2005. I was 20 years old, you know. I dropped the college that I was doing. Studying nutrition in college, but I wanted to try more, you know, try dedicate more to martial arts. But back in that time, Brazil didn't give many opportunities to become a professional fighter. So I moved to California. You know, I had a fight in King of the Cage. You know, so I went to see a friend of mine in Los Angeles, who was the only person who I knew. And then from there, I was going to fly to New Mexico. And then this friend, he was going to surf in Manhattan Beach, in close to Los Angeles. And then Rickson was there. And he knew Rickson because he had trained with Rickson before. And then we started to talk. Rickson started to give me a bunch of advice. And he told me, hey, don't fight in this King of the Cage show. They don't pay you good. He started to give me a bunch of advice and he told me, okay, let's train together. I'm going to give you a gi, go to my gym. And then that's how it happened, you know. And then we started to train, you know. I had the feeling on that conversation that we had on the beach, I had the feeling that he wanted someone to give a hard time to his son, Kron. You know, like, because Kron was, he was 16, he was purple belt at the time. But there was not many competitive trainings for him because Rickson's gym was very focused on like, how can I say? I don't know if it's the right word in English, but commercial, like for everyone, you know, it's for everyone. Like, and Kron of course, wanted to be a competitor, and I was older than him. I was a black belt at that time already. So I had that feeling that Rickson wanted me to beat up Kron a little bit. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. What do you remember about the training with Kron and with Rickson at that time? Do you feel like your game advanced significantly during that time that you spent with them?
Yeah. So much, man. So much, because the way I was in Brazil, I was becoming that guy who went to the school, to the gym just to roll, you know. I was a competitor. I was competing the Worlds. I was competing the ADCC. So, and I was very young too. But so I got to a position in Brazil where the school in Brazil that I came from is very small, you know. So it was not a big school. So I was kind of the guy who when got to the mat to train, I could do whatever I want. If I say, no, I'm going to skip the drilling and just going to roll today, I would do this. So when I got to Rickson's, I started to do hip escape again, started to do rolling again, started to do drill again. That was something important for me. And not only that, I started to relearn Jiu-Jitsu, you know, and figure out so many things, you know. And rolling with Kron was very impressive because I can say that Rickson Gracie is the guy who I saw evolve from one training to the other, like you don't see in regular people, you know. Let's say that that's you roll with a guy today, and then you tap him 3 times, and then the next time you roll with this same guy, you don't tap him. It's rare, you know. If you give him 100%, it's rare. Yeah. And with Kron was like that, you know. At the beginning, I started to smash him a lot, finish him. Next time I roll with him, he already defend, and then the next day I roll with him, he was already putting me in danger. So I remember the very first time we rode, I smashed him a lot. I didn't give him any opportunity to do anything. And 6 to 8 months later, we rode again. I mean, we used to roll like every week or twice a week at least. But I'm on the time frame, like from 8 months later, I remember I rode with him and he tapped me 2 times. And I got mad because I couldn't do nothing to him. So I saw him evolve a lot. With Rickson was, what impressed me is his technique, because Rickson, he does like a very few things, the only things that I see him doing is choke like this from guard and from mount, armbar from guard and from mount, and rear naked choke. I don't see him doing arm triangle choke. I don't see him doing even triangle choke, kimura. I don't see him doing. But man, if he puts you on close guard and put this hand like this, one hand in your collar like this, eventually the other hand gonna come, and when this second hand comes, you're already done, and that's gonna happen, And when I rode with him, I think he was like 45 years old, he had a injury in his hip, and he wasn't training like very, very hard, And when I got there, I was very, very competitive. I wouldn't admit that nobody to tap me, nobody to, I wanted to have advantage no matter what. I of course I had respect, but when it was time to roll, I was very competitive. And Rickson always had a better technique. The technique is his main thing, definitely.
Rickson Gracie, I think, is one of those people in jiu-jitsu where newer generations of people in jiu-jitsu that weren't around during that time might just not quite understand what level he was and how great he was. There's all those stories about him lining up like world champions along the mat, rolling with them one at a time, and just tapping each and every one of them. After every seminar he would do, or after every training camp or worlds camp, he would just smoke everybody in the room pretty much. And I've always felt for Kron because I imagine that being the son of someone with that reputation, that's got to be a tremendous amount of pressure, to be good and to get good quick and to carry that legacy forward, So that's really cool that you got to train both with Kron and with Rickson and learn from them. There's something you said there. You said that Rickson's game a lot of times you felt was very simple. There wasn't like a complex amount of techniques that he used when he rolled. It was usually 1 or 2 or 3 techniques. What's your thoughts on that for people that are coming up in jiu-jitsu? Do you think it's important to have lots and lots of options, or do you think it's better to rely on a few really reliable techniques in general?
Yeah, this is different for everyone, okay? There are people who has many options of attacks, like they are very good in 5-6 guard passes, 7-8 sweeps, and they submit, take the back. And there are the people that they do 3 things and nobody can stop them. That people like they do 3 moves. They don't even know how to teach what they do. But no one in the world can stop them. I remember. I'm saying that because we're talking about jiu-jitsu, but I'm gonna talk about a wrestling coach who I was having a training with him. Was talking about Jordan Burroughs, was a great wrestling champion. And he said something like that. He said, Jordan Burroughs is not a good wrestler. He only does 2 moves, but nobody in the world can stop him. So what can I say? I mean, there are people like Kron, for example. One time he told me, hey, I don't want to be good. He said like that. He said, I prefer to be so on everywhere than good in one aspect. And for him, it really applied because he would diversify his attacks so much, you know. I remember him saying that, and so it's different for everyone, you know, like, but the basic is the basic. You need to know the basic, and you need to know the basic well, you know. You really need to invest on the basic aspect of the things, because the basic is still relevant for everyone. I'm a jiu-jitsu teacher, you know. Sometimes I teach a class with a beginner, white belt, black belt, competitor, MMA fighter who's training, blue belt who just got out from his office and is taking like 1 hour to train and then go back to his office. So I have classes with many different people. And what works for everyone is the basic, you know. If I teach like advanced move, De La Riva spider guard or something, is not gonna help like everybody, but the basic gonna help everybody. But and then we come to that question. But does the black belt, does he need to do the mount escape again, like hold the hand and do the upa, the belly up, and does he need to do again? Yeah, but you need to do the basic well, you know. So I believe that once you do the basic, does well, that is very helpful. You know, the other thing too, Ryan, is that being a professor, that I really observe is that there are like 90 or 95% of the moves that always work since the 90s, since forever, you know. But now today, the jiu-jitsu is on Instagram, the jiu-jitsu is on YouTube, and they create a lot of moves. Every day, some people create moves, but you see the effective of all these moves once they are able to be applied on the high level. If you see someone doing the move in a high level, this move is a very good move. So I'm gonna give you a few examples, like the elbow escape from the mount. That move is being an effective move from the 80s until now, maybe even from this until now. Another move that I'm gonna give you an example. You know when the guy gonna catch you on a triangle and then you pull the elbow and you cross like this and pass the guy guard?
Yes.
I know it's hard to talk about jiu-jitsu, but
no, I understand. Yeah.
When we're not on the mat, we need to be on the mat to talk about jiu-jitsu. But like when you bring the guy gonna, right on that time when he gonna try to catch you on a triangle, you bring the elbow and then you pass the guard.
Yes.
That's a very basic move, and it's still effective nowadays. That move, they used to train that in the Rickson Gracie time. Rickson Gracie was one who developed this guard pass, and it's still effective today in the competition today. Like even in a high level black belt competition, you know, someone tried to catch the other guy in a triangle, right away they do that. So I prefer to invest on the moves, the techniques that is been working for a while, you know. And also new techniques, you need to know the new things that's going on, you know. But like in the general, for general people, like if I have a class with 30 students, like black belt, purple belt, white belt, you know, and then you use the moves that been working for 30, 40, 50 years and it's still working nowadays. Those moves you can call really effective, you know. Those are going to be effective for everyone. The things that I was saying about the YouTube and Instagram Jiu-Jitsu is because sometimes a phenomenon came, you know, like Rafa Mendes or Mika Galvão, and they do an extraordinary move. And then everyone, after they see them doing, they try to repeat this move right away. But they are, these guys, these phenomenons, they are like less than 1% of the jiu-jitsu population, you know. But I talk about Mika Galvão, but Mika Galvão, I don't think he applies for what I'm saying, because he's very basic. I think what I saw by him, he does everything very basically, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ronnie, let me ask you this on this same topic. We talk a lot about the evolution of jiu-jitsu over time and how many techniques have changed and the sport has grown and the art has grown over the decades. What do you think are some of the biggest differences between jiu-jitsu today and jiu-jitsu when you first started in the 90s? What technically has changed the most in your opinion?
Man, thank you for this question, because I think a lot about this question, you know, and I really don't feel that I have someone to share with sometimes, you know, like because I think so much about these changes, if it's good for jiu-jitsu, if it's good for self-defense, if it's good for MMA or not, you know. So what I'm gonna say, what I'm saying is, I started jiu-jitsu in 1996. That year was the year of the first first jiu-jitsu worlds. And everyone who was there, every black belt, the guys who became champion or not, become a world champion wasn't the main thing for them. The main thing, the main achievement for a jiu-jitsu champion was not being a world champion or a Brasileiro champion, was to defend jiu-jitsu in no holds bar, which is the old mixed martial arts, you know. So the same jiu-jitsu that they used to do in gi competition, they used to do in mixed martial arts. So would be Baiana, which is the double leg, guard pass, mount, if the guy turn back, choke, if the guy doesn't turn back, get the armbar, or go try to clinch, if doesn't take the guy down, pull the guy to the close guard, sweep. So the same jiu-jitsu that was applied at that time was applied to no holds bar. No holds bar evolved, became mixed martial arts. We saw many differences, the importance of wrestling, the importance of half guard. You know, actually there is a data in mixed martial arts I heard about, okay, that that most sweeps in mixed martial arts is from half guard. Yeah. So you see the effectiveness of half guard, okay, the importance of half guard. And I have a data that I did myself, which is very important too. If you see the ADCC, most submission is not heel hook, it's not guillotine. Most submissions is rear naked choke. So we go back for the basic that works, okay? Once you have a good back take and a good rear naked choke, you finish people. And the same data is in the UFC too, as well, is in the UFC. Okay, most of submissions is rear naked choke. Is almost double of the second submission, which is guillotine. All basic moves, you know. And when you talk about the difference, why I'm saying that, and once we're gonna talk about the difference from the jiu-jitsu that's played nowadays, because the other day I was watching the IBJJF, the Crown. All the guys that were competing, that were champions, world champion. But bro, right away, the referee did like this. Right away, they run after each other and they pull guard. There was a match there that they were both sitting and pulling each other to their guard, you know? And I said, man, self-defense, this cannot happen. Okay? It's self-defense. Okay, jiu-jitsu is because of guard, okay? Because you from bottom, you can tap someone that's on top of you. That's why jiu-jitsu is so effective. The importance of guard is always gonna be relevant. But my thing is that the takedowns are neglected. Is that the right word, neglected?
Neglected, yeah.
Neglected, yeah. You know, people, they don't do takedown anymore. And when you go to mixed martial arts, I probably talk about that because I'm a mixed martial arts fighter, you know. I feel that I'm a jiu-jitsu fighter on mixed martial arts. I don't feel actually that I'm a MMA guy. I feel more that I'm a jiu-jitsu guy fighting MMA. But when you talk about applying jiu-jitsu to MMA, takedown is very relevant. You need to take the guy down. You can pull the guy, you can pull guard. In a jiu-jitsu competition, in a mixed martial arts, I pull guard many times in my career, but you need to have, you need to be offensive right away. You need to pull guard like attacking a heel hook and then sweep, or pull to half guard sweep. You need to be offensive, you know? So the main difference today is because that I feel is this, you know, it's like a competition. In competition, when it gets the level of competition increase, the rules tend to be explored more. And in the high level, the competitors are understanding how to explore the rule more to win the matches. You know, so it's not their fault actually. But for me, it's a shame, you know, for self-defense, like, you know, because if you see a MMA round, a mixed martial arts fight, and you get a round where the guy stayed on top of the other guy for 4 minutes, for example, 98% of the time that the guy stayed on top for 4 minutes, he won the fight. You know, so I think the efficiency of jiu-jitsu now, jiu-jitsu a little bit is changing, you know, because jiu-jitsu was always be seen as a very effective way of self-defense. And now because of that, I don't see jiu-jitsu more like a very effective way of self-defense. But in competition, you see that evolve a lot, you know, evolve to a different direction than the jiu-jitsu that you apply to mixed martial arts, the jiu-jitsu that you use for self-defense, you know. And about this takedown thing, I think the ADCC rule is very beneficial for that, because they take the negative point for who pulls guard, right? So if you want to be the ADCC champion, you need to be good at takedown only because of that point. Only because of that point. You need to train takedowns a lot, because in the finals, you're going to have to take the guy down, you know? And I was very happy because I saw one guy that is very relevant on the community, which is Robert Drysdale. I saw him talking about that. You know, I saw him talk about the same thing, you know, about the guard pulling, the exceed of guard pulling, okay? It's like I said, jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu because you can pull guard, but you pull guard, man, you need to maybe you need to have time to score, or after like 30 seconds, the guy earn an advantage or something, you know, but you cannot pull guard and win a tournament like that. You know, you win a tournament from bottom, man, you know? So this is the thing that I see, you know, being critical about something that I would see to keep the jiu-jitsu more effective, you know?
Yeah. Well, man,
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. I definitely appreciate your perspective, because this is valuable to hear from someone like yourself, someone that's been training for a very long time. Not only have you been training a long time, but you've competed in the early ADCCs, you fought MMA, you were there at the first Worlds. There's all these unique experiences that you've had in the arts. You've really seen it grow in a lot of different ways. And I can appreciate what you're saying too, because I remember when I first started training jiu-jitsu, it was very much tied to MMA and no holds barred, like you said, and of course self-defense. So the focus for a lot of people that were coming to jiu-jitsu, if you were competitive, 9 times out of 10 you were trying to get into MMA or into no holds barred fighting. And if you weren't competitive, then you were mostly looking for self-defense. You were wanting to learn how to fight on the ground. And it's kind of funny because 2 things happened. I think that one, the sport of jiu-jitsu started becoming it started to grow very much and started to attract a lot of athletes to go try to win world championships, and it led to submission only tournaments and ADCC's popularity. And so it took people kind of away from the trajectory of fighting and more towards, hey, you know, I love jiu-jitsu, I don't really want to get punched in the face, so I want to go do this. And a lot of people went that route. And as that happened over time, we saw the way the game was played change a lot. Like you said, there wasn't as much emphasis on takedowns or protecting from punches and things like that, just because it wasn't as necessary because of the rules. So yeah, I can definitely relate with what you're saying. I've seen a lot of those changes myself, and I think it has to do a lot with the growth of the sport in general. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. It is like I said, you evolved, it grew in a different direction than mixed martial arts, right? And it is what it is. Now I'm very happy for Jiu-Jitsu, how it's getting to mainstream. You know, it's becoming so big, so popular. A Jiu-Jitsu competitor today, he doesn't need to go to MMA to make money. You know, he doesn't only need to think about open up a gym in the future and become an instructor. He can be a competitor and make a lot of money, man. We're talking about $1 million matches in the near future, right? In jiu-jitsu match. Like if Mika Galvão, for example, wanted to fight, who is the guy they were talking about? Rotolo?
Oh yeah.
No, Tainan. Tainan.
Yeah.
I would pay to watch that fight. Many people would pay to watch that fight.
Absolutely.
You know, so it got to mainstream, you know. Yeah. But those things that I said, I think is the main difference. So I just think that it did evolve in a different direction, you know, that I would like to see. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this as a follow-up question. With that growth and evolution in the direction away from fighting, a lot of what became important to learn early on has changed in a lot of people's opinions. Like when you were first learning jiu-jitsu day one back in the 90s or in the early 2000s when I started, punch protection, distance management, clinching, things like that were all like crucial that you had to understand from the very beginning. What do you think are the fundamentals now? Do you think that the fundamentals that people should be learning from day one in 2024 are different than what they were in the 90s? Or do you think that people should still be learning the exact same fundamentals as before?
Yeah, let's suppose a person who got in the gym, never did sports, never did martial arts, and he wanted to learn jiu-jitsu, you know. You know, you know, sometimes you receive a person like that, you know, you have to make him understand why jiu-jitsu is for, you know. It's from self-defense. You need to know, you need to make him understand the efficiency of jiu-jitsu first, the distance, like you said, the clinch, takedown. You gotta make him understand. First, you need to make him understand that if he feel that his arm gonna break or he's gonna pass out, he needs to tap. He needs to understand what is control, what is a submission, all these things, and that's why it's very important to separate the classes. You know, beginner with beginner, like, and then intermediate, like a blue belt, and then competitors class, of course, because we talk about very, very different things. Imagine that, man. If a very beginner go to a class like where he's gonna learn like guard passing, for example, he needs to understand why he's doing the guard pass. He needs to understand why the guy is holding him with his legs in a close guard. You know, he needs to understand why is that for. So, yeah. And it actually depends the type of beginner you're receiving. Mostly the guys that I receive already have an experience with jiu-jitsu in another school or trained judo when they were a teenager. With this type of person is different. If the person came from CrossFit or the person came from bodybuilding or was a runner before, or is different, are different profiles. But it's very important to make everyone understand why jiu-jitsu is for.
That's very well said. Yeah, I think, yeah, I can agree with that for sure. That many of the core fundamentals are always going to be the day one most important things to learn. You know, another evolution another change or growth that I've seen in jiu-jitsu as well is the way people learn jiu-jitsu. I remember when I first started training jiu-jitsu, I really don't believe that it was as rigid of a curriculum as we see today. Like today, I feel like new students are accelerating and learning jiu-jitsu much faster and learning much more, much early than when I first started. Like if I see blue belts competing at a local tournament or at Worlds, I watch those guys. I'm like, dude, if I was a blue belt in that division, those guys would have murdered me. Like these guys would have, I wouldn't have had a chance. And it's not that I was training in a poor quality school. It's none of that. It's just that the way the information and the volume of information and the way the information is structured and presented to students these days seems to be much more refined than it used to be. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, totally. This is another thing. Like, is because the competition increased the level. So one thing is a guy who's a blue belt, and the other thing is a guy who's a competitor blue belt. If they get to the mat, probably the guy who's a competitor competes like every other week, and get to a blue belt who's been a blue belt for 2-3 years and train like 3 days a week. This guy, the competitor, probably gonna do much better than the other guy because competition increased the level. And like there are guys who are competing as a blue belt. If you go to a regular school, a school who does not focus in competition as much, like my students, okay, I have a group who competes, but the main focus is not competition. And you get a blue belt competitor, technically, this guy might have a better technical level than a black belt in my school. And it's not only my school, like many random school who he has the same profile as mine, like doesn't focus only in competition. If you get a blue belt competitor, technically this guy might be even better, But even on the technique aspect, man, we go back to what we talked before, the very basic still works against new moves, One other thing about the young generation is not only the new techniques, it's also because they are the young generation. So they have more energy, they put more time on what they're doing, okay? But I still believe that the old school game, like the tightness, jiu-jitsu to be tight, to be the way distribution, to be heavy, to pass the guard heavy and smash the guy. I still believe those things always gonna be relevant, always gonna work in competition, But of course, you need to be aware of the new things that are going on,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been really exciting to see. I mean, we talk about how, we've always wanted, anyone that trains jiu-jitsu or loves jiu-jitsu has always wanted to see it grow more and more and become more prevalent. And it's certainly doing that. Like you said, we're reaching the point now where, $1 million super fights are not far off in the future. And people are making lots of money competing full time. And of course, the overall level of the sport, the talent level is just so incredibly high. And I think you're right. It's a combination of young athletic people being able to jump in at a good time when the learning of jiu-jitsu is as refined as it's ever been, and then there's also paths. There's plenty of paths to take through competitive grappling and opportunities that didn't exist before. So it's really exciting times, man. I imagine for you, someone that was competing at ADCC back in like 2005, 2007, that must be a whole nother world to see. That must be really cool for you to have seen all that. What do you think about the growth of ADCC since you were first competing compared to how big it's become now?
Yeah, man, the last ADCC, that thing was
it's wild,
outstanding, man.
Yeah.
Was a show, bro. It was a show, because I was a ADCC competitor. ADCC always gave me the main experience that I have as a competitor to increase my level and then eventually fighting MMA. I think most of the experience I got was from ADCC. You know, competing the ADCC trials. I had that match, 50-minute match against Leo Vieira, which was an idol for me when I started. All those things. But to be honest, man, like as a fan, as a guy who, let's suppose you're gonna take a weekend to watch a sport, ADCC was boring as hell, bro. You know, people would never watch the ADCC match, you know. But the last ADCC, that was a show, man. They knew how to put on the show, you know, and everyone, the production, the way that they were commentating the fight, you know, and I felt very happy because they needed to do something like that, you know. Even the storyline behind the Andre Galvão and Gordon Ryan thing, though, that ADCC was very important, you know. And then the Rutolo, all the competitors, you know, they did very well too, you know. And even the way the commentators commentate is very important to entertain people. You see that on UFC, okay? You see, because you live in Brazil, so you probably felt that. Once you see the commentators in Brazil, not now in the new UFC Fight Pass, but the old one, sometimes they would make a joke from the fighter, they would say, and then you see Joe Rogan, and who else? Joe Rogan and Dominic Cruz, all those guys commentator, Daniel Cormier, they know how to entertain the fight, even if the fight is boring. So this was another important factor that I thought. So all the production was very good, man. It was very important. One thing that I would love to see happen in ADCC is to those 5 minutes that they start, that there is no points. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
There's no point on the first half.
Yeah.
I think it's time to change that.
Really? Why do you say that?
Because the times that I compete, and even on the last ADCC, many people, the competitors, they don't give 100% on those first 5 minutes. They stay there. They give like 60, 70%. If something happens, they go for the attack, but they don't give their best. They wait until the 5 minutes. They wait for the second half, 5 or 10 minutes, because the final is 20 minutes long, and then they start to fight 100%. I believe that most of the fights are still like that, you know.
Yeah, I've always loved that initial 5 minutes with no points, though, because I like it because it gives, there's no consequences point-wise if you make a mistake. So I feel like for some people, it opens things up to where they might attack now with less hesitation, because they know, hey, at the worst case scenario, if I fail this technique or if I fail this takedown attempt, I don't lose points for it. But I can also see what you're saying is that people can also use it as kind of a grace period where they don't really have to go after it as much, and they can kind of coast through it a little bit. So yeah, I understand your perspective. I see what you're saying, because there's two sides of it. I think that it's good that it can open up and leave people feeling like there's less risk to try more, which can encourage action. But I suppose you're right that someone could also use it as a chill grace period. So that's one of the hard things about jiu-jitsu, about really any sport, but jiu-jitsu in particular. It's hard to find rule sets that can't be used improperly or manipulated in some way. There's some people are always going to play the game. You know what I mean? Like that's a hard one. It's hard.
No, I know. I like your perspective on the rule. You know, and you're right. Okay. And I'm not only saying that because you interview me now, because I really think it is. But the thing is, the competitors, man. Like I didn't watch all the matches in the last ADCC. The matches I watched, I saw that they were going. Gordon Ryan was very offensive on the first half. The Rutolo was very offensive. who did win the 145?
Baby Shark, yeah.
Yeah, Baby Shark, very offensive too. I'm saying that because all the ADCC that I competed, everyone, most of the matches, they would just stay there, just like they were exchanging, they were pummeling, just waiting for that. And I actually had the opportunity to talk about that with Sheikh Tarnoon, the ADCC creator,
nice.
Because I went to train with him in Abu Dhabi. We trained together there, and I talked to him about that. Hey, don't you think it's time to change that? And he said, no, it's going to stay like that because he likes that. And his intention is what you're talking about, is for the guy to be offensive, okay? Now talking about me, and actually thank you for all the compliments, because I try to avoid to talk about in first person, because you earn more credibility when someone is talking about you or about you than you talking about yourself. So thank you for that on the beginning of the interview.
Sure.
But talking about me now, I'm gonna say something good about me. The only is every time I competed in the ADCC, I was trying to be very offensive. On the first 5 minutes, I was looking for the submission, except when I had the 50-minute match against Del Vieira, because I didn't have the confidence to go forward right away with him,
I'd love to talk about that if you don't mind, because there's a lot of people listening that want to compete in jiu-jitsu and that do compete in jiu-jitsu who very well might end up across the mat from someone that they really admire. What mentality do you think is the best way to approach something like that when you feel a little starstruck or a little, I guess, overly respectful of the person you're about to compete against? What works for you?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna tell my story with Liu, okay? Because when I started, Liu, he was a black belt already, and he was fighting for the World Jiu-Jitsu World Championship. Also, I was a white belt. I was watching him on TV, the final in the Worlds. I saw him become a world champion with the gi the next year, and I always admire his style. I was a big fan of him. And the first time I competed the ADCC was in 2003. I won the trials, and then I started to have my camp, no gi training. And I knew that it was going to be him. Royler Gracie was in the bracket too. And I thought that I could beat those guys. I really thought in my mind, because as a competitor, you need to have the confidence that you're going to beat everyone in the world, That's the minimal requirement that you need to have to become a world champion. It's not about arrogance. You really need to feel that. And I was thinking that I really could beat Liu. And then we fought in the quarterfinal match. Man, the first minute when he puts his hands on me, and I felt his speed, his explosion, his strength, his power, his technique. Nobody in training was doing what he did to me, and I thought, man. During the match, I thought, bro, this is completely different than I was expecting. This is completely different than I saw in my entire life, So for me to beat him 4 years later was a process, In 2005, based on the 2003 match, 2005, I came way more mentally and physically prepared, especially on this explosion aspect, the to be explosive during the match, aggressive, And then we ended up having that really long match, which was very important for me, confidence-wise, because I felt that I passed to another level, even though that I took second place in the competition. That time, that ADCC, I finished the first match. Then I had a 20-minute match against Wagner Fabiano, which is a high decorated black belt from Brazil who had beat me before. Then I had a 25-minute match against Marcio Feitosa, who was also a ADCC champion and black belt world champion. And then I fought Liu in the final for 50 minutes. Even though I didn't win, I felt that I increased my level to be competing against those guys who were my idols before. And then when I went in 2007, we got to the finals again. 2007, by the way, was a tournament that the only thing that was in my mind was to tap everybody out, you know. So it was like the best performance I had in my career. I finished like the first match, the second match under the 5 minutes. The first match was like 30 seconds. Second match was like 20 minutes. No, sorry, 2 minutes. The match that I didn't finish against Barry Yoshida, I beat him by many points. But I was trying to finish all the time. I didn't even care about points. Points was only a consequence because I wanted to finish so bad. And then went to the final against Liu. And then right away, I became very aggressive because... And talking about what we talked about before, about the youth, about... In 2007, I already had the experience from the other competition. So that was my year. That year was my prime. And Leo, maybe he was the favorite, still the favorite that time because nobody had beaten him. But was the time that after that fight that we had, he started to decrease, you know. So I was achieving the peak, and he was already on the peak. Or he was gonna maintain, or he was gonna go down, you know. And I remember that match, I became the aggressor right away. But in the middle of the match, when we had like 20, 30 minutes, it started to become a chess game because I didn't score. Nobody scored yet. And he started to put in some crazy moves there. He started to be offensive as well. And then I had the mental resiliency to keep attacking, and eventually I was able to catch him, take the backhand, and finish him. So for the young competitors who wanted to achieve a dream, the only thing that I say based on that story that I told is to persistence. And, you know, and it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be fun.
That's incredible. I love that, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. And then, that your 2007 ADCC run is when I first became a huge fan of yours. And then when I saw you moving over to MMA and I saw you in WBC, I said, oh man, wait. I said, man, that's got to be the same guy because Rani Yahya, it's not a common name. I'm like, that's the same guy from ADCC, man. He's the one that won in 2007. So really cool, man. Really awesome. I appreciate you sharing that breakdown for us. Rani, I'll tell you what, man, we've reached about the halfway point of the show. This is where I always play a game with my guests on the show. It's called The Pummel. The Pummel is a series of random questions. Some of these are about jiu-jitsu. Some of these have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. But if you're down to play The Pummel, I'd love to play this game with you.
Yeah, let's play.
All right, Ronnie. Question 1 for the Pummel game. What's the worst job you ever had in your life?
When I used to live in San Diego, I got a ticket and I had to do trash collection.
Oh, that sucks. You had to do community service. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. I had to do a few of those myself when I was younger. I know how that goes.
Why, DUI?
No, nothing like that. No, nothing like that. When I was a kid, I used to do stupid stuff when I was a kid. I was just out late with my friends being an idiot. What's something you wish you were better at?
Better in school.
Better in school.
Wish I was better in school. Yeah, because, I don't understand how people can stay in a class for 4, 6, 7 hours and still pay attention to what the teacher is teaching. It doesn't really get to my mind because when I read a book, I read the first page, the next 9 pages, I don't get nothing about. So yeah,
Man, you're preaching to the choir. It's exactly how it was. Man, in school, I was so distracted. I couldn't focus on anything. And I feel like they could also change school to make it more fun and more interesting for kids too, though. But they don't seem to want to do that. At least not when I was in school. And then, yeah, with reading, oh my God, bro. ADD with reading. I have to read every page about 3 or 4 times before I actually absorb it. So I know exactly how that is, man. What do you think is a secret talent that you have?
Maybe to wash dishes.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Or at least put the dishes on the dishwater. This is a talent that I have.
Good organization skills. Yeah, that's good, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. What do you think is the worst injury that you ever had?
The worst injury? Well, I think one in my shoulder. I had to go through a surgery in my shoulder, and to recover took me a while, and I was feeling a lot of pain. Yes.
Has that gotten better now, though? It's not a problem anymore?
No, not a problem anymore. Yeah, it took me a while to recover. Yeah.
Was that from jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, for not one situation specific, but over the years, I didn't. I actually competed. I had 2 UFC fights with the ligament, the torn ligament, the full tear in the ligaments, and I didn't know. I had 2 fights with it, and I was feeling pain, but I didn't want to go to the doctor to heal or to do the exam, the MRI. And then when I did the MRI, it was always was a mess. My straining was terrible. I was feeling a lot of pain.
Damn, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Well, I'm glad you finally got the MRI. I think a lot of guys tend to do that. We just want to rub dirt on it and just ignore it. But yeah, eventually you got to get to the doctor, man. That's good that you did that. Two fights through that too. I had
2 fights.
Man,
yeah,
that's some serious fortitude.
And that was the thing because I had the pain, and then I won the fight that I had. I won like in 1 minute and 30 seconds or something. So on the next camp, I thought I won the previous fight and I had that pain, so I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna fight and win again, and and keep the pain. Just keep the pain. That was the problem because I won the first fight. I finished quick, and then the second fight I paid the price. I couldn't perform at my best, and then I finally had the MRI. Was a huge mess there.
Oh man. Well, man, I'm glad it's better now, though. It's good because sometimes when you see someone have a dramatic injury, it lasts their whole life, their whole career. So I'm happy that's not one of those. That's really good, man. Ronnie, what do you think is your favorite bad food to eat? Favorite junk food?
Lately, I like hamburgers.
Nice.
Hamburgers, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorites too. Describe your perfect hamburger. What do you put on the perfect hamburger?
Egg, meat. I like dairy free things, but I cannot deny that the milk the cheese is tasty is something important. Put some greens there. A lot of sauce. Bread, and that's it.
What do you think was the scariest moment of your life?
Bro, that was true. Recently, I got married in church. And to swear in front of God, was really scary for me. This was one moment, and the other one was.
So now we have an idea. So Ronnie, before getting married, you used to be a playboy, man. I got you. It's a scary moment. It's a scary moment for a player when you get married.
Yeah, man. because a huge change, bro. You know, like even like how do I how do I say bandido in English?
Bandido. Like a bandit, like a thief. Yeah.
Even the worst bandit, if he's in court in front of the judge, he's gonna think like 5-6 times before he swear to God.
Yeah.
You know, he can swear. He can swear. He's gonna swear, but he's gonna think. You know, like with me was no different, bro. So this was one time, and the other time was when I jumped in the paraquedas. You know?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
How do we say that?
Like parachuting. Yeah. You went parachuting on a plane.
Parachuting, yes.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy, man. That's a very crazy thing. I know a lot of people that have done that. It looks fun, but I don't know if I'm ever going to jump out of a plane. It does look cool though, like because they put like a video camera on you sometimes, like a GoPro, and then they give you the video afterward. It looks amazing, but yeah, that's one I don't know if I could do. But man, congratulations on the wedding though, man. That's awesome. Congratulations on being married. How recent was that?
It was like 3 weeks.
You got married 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Oh, man, super recent. Oh, man, congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
The marriage is still scariest than the parachuting bit.
Still scared to jump out of the plane. I got you, man.
Bro, before getting to the church, man, I was feeling adrenaline. I never had in a fight. I never felt that kind of adrenaline in a fight, bro. UFC fights.
Oh my god.
Mixed MMA, yeah.
So funny, dude. What do you think? What do you think is your most hated position in jiu-jitsu to get stuck in?
Triangle choke.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Someone locks it in, that's a really rough one to get out of. Yeah, for sure. Do you prefer? What's your favorite takedown? What's your most reliable takedown?
My favorite takedown is one that I don't spend too much energy doing is like a inside trip.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, inside trip. I really like that. But it's not the one that I apply more. You know, I was actually never able to apply that takedown in a mixed martial arts fight because I didn't have the opportunity. But so I always ended up catching single legs.
Yeah, single legs are statistically a really, really high takedown for MMA for sure. When you're in a grappling situation for the inside trip, do you like to do it off the arm drag, like the Marcelo Garcia used to always hit that arm drag to the inside trip? Is that the one that you like to do, or do you set it up differently?
No, usually when I have one underhook, and then go for the outside, the opposite leg, go to the outside.
Yeah,
inside trip, not outside, the inside. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, that's a very effective one too. Who do you think's your favorite grappler of all time?
Oh man, depends so many times during the years. But you know, one guy that really I was really excited to watch way back in the day was Margarida, man.
Oh yeah, Margarida.
You know Fernando Margarida?
Of course,
yeah.
Of course, yeah.
I don't know what happened to him, man. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah,
nobody knows, bro.
He just disappeared.
But man, to watch him was fun to watch. Was fun to watch him, bro, because he used to do things. I mean, nowadays there are many guys who does things the way he does but back in the day, like way back in the day, I believe he was the first guy who came to the game to finish, you know, because before him, like Saulo Ribeiro, which was another guy who I used to love compete and train under him. He was winning everything, but he was very strategic. He wasn't like a guy who finished people and smashed people a lot, you know. And when this guy came to the game, he started to finish many high decorated black belts world champions, you know. And he came out of nowhere and he left the sport and nobody knows about him.
Yeah, that's, man, excellent choice. I mean, Fernando Margarida, I had an instructional of his many years ago on a DVD, and I think I reached out to him years ago to try to get him on the podcast, but I never heard back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I never heard back. So yeah, he seems to have just disappeared. Yeah, just kind of Gone Without a Trace, man. It's really interesting. Who do you think is your favorite MMA fighter of all time?
Well, I'm gonna have to say Khabib.
Khabib, yeah, good choice. Yeah,
Yeah, the first name that comes to my mind is Khabib.
good choice. Good choice. Who's your soccer team in Brazil?
Flamengo.
Flamengo, nice.
Flamengo, but I don't follow, man, too much. You know, I don't follow soccer. I know from the 11 players, I know two only.
Nice.
Maybe less than two, because I was trying to remember now. Is Gabigol and the other one? Who is the other one? Ascarreta. I don't even know his name. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. What do you think is we talked earlier about your favorite food to eat, your favorite bad food. What's your most hated food? What's something you cannot eat no matter what?
Man, I eat everything, bro. I eat everything.
So far it doesn't exist, huh? That's good.
Yeah. The thing is this, I avoid things, you know. Okay, I'm gonna tell you one food, one feed that for me, everyone who say that likes that, because everyone does it, is lying. Okay. Everyone who say that likes is beer.
Oh, beer. Yeah, beer.
Beer, man. The taste is I don't understand, man. The taste. The people say no. If you tell me that you're gonna drink a beer to get drunk and you like the feeling of being drunk, I get it. But the taste, man.
No.
I don't like that taste, man.
It's an acquired taste. I think people deal with the taste of beer to get the effect of how it makes you feel. And I think I guess if you drink it enough, it's an acquired taste, and they can have different styles and flavors and stuff that they depending what kind of beer you're drinking, that are, I guess, easier to drink than others. But I agree with you. I don't think anyone drinks beer because they like the taste. If it didn't get you drunk, I don't think people would drink beer.
But I met some people who said that they like the taste.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But you think they're lying?
I think so, because some people say, no, I like the taste, I'm gonna take it. So I think it's beer, man. Beer. You can say beer, because I don't like the taste, man.
Yeah, no, definitely an acquired taste for sure. Who's your favorite superhero?
Superman.
Classic. If you could have a superpower, what would you choose?
Yeah, fly.
Fly. That'd be a good one. What is your favorite? Let me pick another one here for you. What's your favorite submission?
I want to say rear naked choke, but I'm going to go with arm triangle choke.
Arm triangle. Good choice.
I'm triangle choke, yeah.
Good choice.
What I see about the arm triangle choke is because it happens so much, the opportunity to get to the arm triangle choke. At least for me, like in mixed martial arts, in my UFC career, I have 7 wins by submission. 3 was arm triangle chokes. So I have to say arm triangle choke because of that. But it's also because I see the opportunity to get arm triangle choke so many times in all the 3 styles of Jiu-Jitsu. Gi, no gi, and the Jiu-Jitsu that you apply in MMA, which is the 3rd style that used to be self-defense. Now the Jiu-Jitsu you apply in MMA is the highest. MMA is the highest level of self-defense with no weapons. Unarmed self-defense, because you have a guy who's very well prepared. He can also submit you. He can knee you. He's very well conditioned. He can knock you out. And then you need to go out there and finish him. So it's another style of Jiu-Jitsu, the Jiu-Jitsu you apply for MMA. And I see that arm triangle choke is effective on the 3 styles of Jiu-Jitsu. The opportunities to get arm triangle chokes, it happens on all 3 styles. But you need to know how to apply. It's something that the guy needs to know,
Absolutely. No, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. I could see that being used for street fights, self-defense, MMA, competitive jiu-jitsu. That's a very good point, man. The arm triangle is definitely up there in the most effective techniques. Ronnie, final question for you, man. If martial arts did not exist, what do you think you would have done with your life instead?
I would definitely go to another sport, bro.
You think you would have gone with soccer? Or what would you have played instead, do you think?
I would invest my time in soccer or something else. Yeah, I think it would be soccer. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Excellent. And Ronnie, that was the final question for the Pummel game. Congratulations, you win. You got your double underhooks. So Ronnie,
sometime we're gonna have to train, and you.
Oh my God!
Get
It'd be amazing.
The underhook.
That'd be amazing. I would, if against you, I would quickly lose my underhooks, but I'll still train anyway. That would be an honor. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, one thing that we were when we were talking about the evolution of jiu-jitsu. And the other thing is about the doors that the jiu-jitsu opened for the people, for the community. Like many jobs opportunity, not only competing, teaching, but like different jobs. Like you can have a podcast like you can have like a jiu-jitsu brand, like, and sell shirts with jiu-jitsu, sell gear. Like I have a student of mine that he's making like the BJJ tapes. He sell tapes. Like can be commentator. You can have a YouTube channel and commentate fights, and the jiu-jitsu market just open up so much. So I think we were talking about the evolution of jiu-jitsu. I was talking about the rules and what I think about the rules, but it is important to talk about how beneficial was the evolution of jiu-jitsu in that sense. Like there are people who are never a competitor, but they have a YouTube channel where they teach. Every day they show a new move and they make money from that. So
it's exciting times,
and I have,
man.
Yeah,
it's really exciting times. And yeah, we really are at a point now where the sport's just reaching higher and higher levels all the time. The future looks very bright. And that's kind of an interesting question for you, because you're someone that was in the trenches in the early days in jiu-jitsu, in the early days of ADCC, and back in the days when a lot of guys who had a lot of success in competition would eventually make their way into MMA like you did. What made that decision for you? What made you decide to pursue, rather than pursuing grappling, pursue MMA instead?
I think the main motivation is when I decided to be a jiu-jitsu competitor, is like I said, when I started in jiu-jitsu, the main achievement was not to be a jiu-jitsu champion or world champion. If you were a world champion, the 96, 97, 98 maybe, you still gonna have to defend your jiu-jitsu, your gym or jiu-jitsu, the art, in the no holds bar, okay, or in MMA. And so that was my dream, I wanted to get to that level, to the highest level, and be recognized. The other thing was the money, but not the money itself. Was about the status of the profession, because I won the ADCC in 2007, and then you won the ADCC, you make 10 grand. Okay, but that time, the only tournament that you would make money was the ADCC, which was every 2 years. You wouldn't make money. And there was no event to make money. There was no like flow grappling matches like every weekend, like it happens now. There was nothing. So I wanted to become a professional. To become a professional, you need to go fight MMA. And even nowadays, bro, many people say that they are professional mixed martial arts fighters, but you only a pro when you are on UFC or Bellator or PFL or ONE FC, and then you can say that you are pro. Okay, the other pro fights you have, they're pro, they count, but you're actually an amateur because you're getting like $1,000 maybe. In Brazil, they don't pay you. You know that. They don't pay. They pay. They give you tickets for you to sell. So you cannot call yourself a pro until you get a big contract.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like basically, when you're doing it full time, when you're only training and fighting, and you don't have to have a side job, that's when you're truly a professional. And I think that's definitely something that is still possible in MMA, obviously, but in Jiu-Jitsu, it's now becoming possible, which is really exciting. So, do you think that at that time, when you made that decision to cross over to MMA, if things were the way they are right now in Jiu-Jitsu, would you have still done MMA, or would you have stuck with grappling if these opportunities?
No,
existed?
maybe not. Maybe I would stick with grappling.
Yeah.
Maybe yes. Um, it's hard to think like that. It's hard to think about the if.
Yes,
Like
sure.
if no, it's hard to think because. But I put myself in that position, and I make that question. Of course, if let's say that I'm 15 years younger now. I'm now 39 years old. Let's say I'm 24. Okay, and maybe from that point, from now, if I'm 24 now, I could make more money, even more money doing grappling than doing MMA. Then, because a guy who's 24, let's say the guys who won the ADCC last ADCC, maybe they're 24, 25, 26. They can make more money now doing grappling than if they switch to MMA. And because you go to MMA, you go to a different sport. And then you're going to have to reach the high level in a totally different sport. Because it's like we said, man, MMA, the evolution of MMA was one direction, grappling another direction, and then BJJ with gi, is still a little closer to grappling, but it's getting different directions too. So if it doesn't compensate now for a guy, because now we're talking about $1 million fights in grappling. Yeah. So it doesn't compensate for the CC champion to go to MMA like that. Like ONE FC, man, they make a contract and they compete in grappling there. The Musumeci kid, he's competing grappling there. I bet he's making a lot of money, man. Yeah. Probably more money than guys that fight in UFC in the first fight, in the first contract.
Sure.
I have the feeling that he makes more money than not only the first fight, but the first contract, where they get paid 12 plus 12, 14 plus 14, something like that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: for guys that are jiu-jitsu guys that do want to still pursue MMA, that have that interest in maybe crossing over in the future, what do you think are the most important areas of jiu-jitsu to perfect for MMA? Like if someone does want to take the route that you took and go into MMA, what technically should they have really sharp before they do that?
Okay, I'm gonna answer your question talking about the guys who I think would do good in MMA.
Cool.
This guy from and who are these guys? The guys who are very complete. Okay, the guys who take downs, who are able to take down, who are able to play guard, who are able to pass, who take back, who understand about foot locks, ankle locks. So I think guys like De Rutolo, Mika Galvão, Gordon Ryan, Meregali, the guys who are complete, they're good everywhere. These guys are able to make a good transition to MMA, yeah. See the relevance of wrestling mixed martial arts. If you not ask me, but I saw Sherdog the other day, they were making like the top 10 best grapplers in mixed martial arts. The number one was Khabib. Because wasn't Damian or Royce, because we're not talking about the guy who had. If we talk about the guy who has the best jiu-jitsu background guy in MMA would be different, but the best grappler was Khabib, and Khabib took everyone down, bro. And he also played guard. The times he had to play guard, he played guard. There was times that he got on bottom and played guard very, very offensively. So that's the importance of takedowns in mixed martial arts.
Yeah. Did you explored a lot of wrestling too in your career? Didn't you work with like Randy Couture and Dan Henderson, and you've worked with a lot of high level wrestlers yourself, right?
Oh yeah. I trained with Dan Henderson. Not Randy Couture. Never trained with him,
Okay.
but I trained with Dan Henderson. I used to train at Team Quest. Actually, the time I competed in the ADCC, there was a few times that I trained there. Was very helpful too. Gave me another vision, Like nowadays, I see that even guys with gi, they train wrestling, but they use wrestling from the bottom. From the bottom. Like they don't go for the takedown, but once they pull guard, they do the De La Riva thing or the 50-50 thing, and then they make a transition, switch to a single leg, switch to a double leg. So wrestling is very relevant. Okay, it's important to understand that every technique from wrestling is allowed in jiu-jitsu. Every technique. So Jiu-Jitsu is you can amplify your Jiu-Jitsu, and use and explore things from other arts like wrestling, judo.
Yeah, that's really well said, man. That's something I've always tried to look at my own jiu-jitsu that way, and that is that obviously I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, and jiu-jitsu is my love and my passion, but I've always tried to see myself more as a grappler than just a jiu-jitsu guy. Like I would like to explore judo takedowns, wrestling techniques, elements of sambo that I was able to learn from different people. I think that, yeah, like you said, grappling, just being an overall well-rounded grappler is a very good goal to have because, yeah, like you said, jiu-jitsu allows it all. We're allowed to do all those things. You can't necessarily take all the jiu-jitsu techniques and take those to other sports, but you can definitely take what the other sports do and bring them into jiu-jitsu. So if you're a jiu-jitsu person, why not amplify your game, like you said? So, yeah, very, very good advice, man. Ronnie, do you think that there's any chance you might come back to competitive grappling in the future? Like, do you think you might do an ADCC again someday?
No, ADCC, no chance.
No. Okay.
ADCC, I'm done. Yeah. Was a part of my life that I dedicate myself, and I already achieved the peak. I know what it takes to become a ADCC world champion. So it's something that is a page that already passed. I don't want to come back there. Grappling matches, maybe, depending on the proposal.
That would be incredible. It would be incredible to see you come back to competitive grappling, man. You're one of the OGs, one of the pioneers in the early days, man. So it's always cool to see people like yourself coming back again after great success in MMA, carrying the flag of jiu-jitsu and MMA. So that would be really cool, man. I hope that happens in the future. Ronnie, what are some of your major goals for this year coming up? What are some of your some goals for 2024?
Bro, my goal is to have the fights that I have to do in UFC, the fights that is under my contract. My goal is to be on my very best, win these fights that I have under my contract, and that's the only thing in my mind, competition wise, win the fights that I have to that I gonna have to do it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So now is a time that I'm focused on doing a pre-camp, getting ready to eventually do a camp and get ready to fight. The last couple of years was hard, with so many injuries. I have to cancel fights, but now I'm achieving a point where I'm ready to go back.
That's awesome. Well, Ronnie, it's always amazing getting to watch you fight, man. I think you represent jiu-jitsu so well, and the whole jiu-jitsu community appreciates people like yourself that are out there in MMA at the highest levels representing the art, man. So thanks for doing what you do. Well, folks, unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. Ronnie, it has been an honor and a pleasure to have you here, man. I appreciate you taking time with me today. Like I said, you're someone I've been watching since I was a white belt. So when our mutual friend Diego Paiva put us in contact, I was really excited to get you on the show. So you're welcome back anytime, man. Anytime you'd like to come back, I'd love to do it again.
Thank you, Ryan. My pleasure. It was great to be here talking to you, talk about my career, talking about many different topics about what I think about Jiu-Jitsu, nowadays Jiu-Jitsu, grappling. Was awesome for me, man. Excellent. And it's like I said, man, you know how to do this thing. You know how to interview people, how to engage people, make people talk, and you're doing a great job, and this is very important for mixed martial, for the martial arts in general, for jiu-jitsu. What you're doing is very important.
Ronnie, that means the world, man. I really sincerely appreciate that. Thank you very much. For anyone out there that wants to keep up with Ronnie, it's really easy to do so. He has an athlete page on Facebook. It's Rani Yahya MMA. He's most active on Instagram. It's Rani Yahya MMA on Instagram. His YouTube channel is Rani MMA. It's RANI MMA. So make sure you guys find that channel, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon to get notified when he adds new videos. And Ronnie, again, I appreciate your time so much. We really look forward to seeing your next fight in the UFC. Continue carrying the flag of jiu-jitsu as well as you always have, and we'll see you next time you're on the show.
Great. All right, Ryan. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you guys for watching.
Absolutely. And that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the BJJ Fanatics podcast.